All right, you guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the Listing Agent Show. With me, I have my co-host, Ren Jones from Vulcan 7. Ren, welcome back, my friend.
Glad to be here, Brandon. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So today we are talking about effective prospecting tactics and strategies. And so before we jump in, this show is sponsored by Vulcan 7, which I think Ren and I both share the same philosophy that it is the most powerful lead generation tool in real estate when it comes to generating a listing-based business. So for more information, if you want to get signed up with Vulcan 7, we'll put a link underneath this video. So Mr. Ren Jones, I want to jump into the first kind of talking point, if you will, on this very, very, very important topic today, which is how to effectively prospect. But first on my notes, I want to break a misconception that marketers, the narrative that marketers are trying to portray, which is, prospecting is just old school cold calling, and that stuff just doesn't work. And so I want to unpack that a little bit and give the audience, at least from my lens, some context that prospecting is not cold calling. And the reason why is this. I believe prospecting in any business, but certainly in real estate, is the proactive approach to contacting consumers who we know need our services to help them buy and sell real estate. And because that's my definition of prospecting, it's a lot different than the narrative that marketers are trying to portray to realtors and trying to tell them like cold calling is old school. And what I just outlined is very different than picking up the phone book and calling random people. Would you agree?
I agree. It's very calculating, very targeted. I've always puzzled over the word cold because I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, in the work that I do and the content that I make, certainly want to bring that into this show, is that I think that marketers have obviously a benefit to sell against what you and I believe works so well. Not just believe, it's the truth.
They're pandering to the weakness. They're going for the weakness. Pay us $99. You don't have to think,
That's right. That's right. It's appealing. You're right, to the real estate agent who refuses to accept the fact that this is a sales business, refuses the fact that, hey, I've got to pick up the phone. In any business, I have to reach out to people. They're not reaching out to me. You're not Nike with $1 billion marketing budget. Nobody's calling you.
Well, and then there's the dirty little secret. And they're like, well, but so-and-so is making a lot of money. Well, what you don't know is they're doing a big mailing campaign. They're grossing this much and they're netting this much. And so really they make less than their assistant.
Exactly.
It's the dirty little secret. We've seen it, Brandon, where that's you right. Have an agent that's a prominent agent, but the dirty little secret is they're making no money.
That's right. It's all a huge, what I call, Ren, like this Wizard of Oz moment. A lot of the newer agents come in the market, and you're exactly right. They see Bob or Sue doing mailing campaigns or Facebook ads or whatever the case may be. They don't see their bank account and their margins, and those people not willing to admit, like, man, this is a very tough racket.
Right. Yeah. And I've run into that where some of the ones that were on stage are being scolded by, the person, major franchise is scolding them for like, you're not making any money. Yeah. You're an Exxon station. You're making 10 cents a gallon. What's going on here?
So the point here, you guys and girls, when I say you guys, I mean men and women. The point is, don't be sold by these marketing companies that try to position prospecting as like cold calling. It's very, very different. And my position is that if you're going to succeed in any industry, you are going to have to proactively reach out to your customers, reach out to your clients, because for the most part, they're not reaching out to you. So that brings me into bullet point number 2, which is if you can accept what Ren and I are saying to be true, then Ren, I believe an agent should focus on activities that they can track, measure, and then duplicate those results. Because to your point, they start doing things like mailers that are very difficult to track, very difficult to measure, and very difficult to duplicate. So, what are those activities? We can give them some, and then you and I can kind of unpack that a little bit. But as an
best practices, and you've got those best practices. I mean, you've got that so refined. Don't reinvent the wheel, folks. Just get involved and follow the recipe.
Yeah. And, I would say that I'm going to start, Ren, going through these activities from what I believe to be the most effective to least effective, because there's two things at play. There's effectiveness and efficiency. Both are playing a role here. So at the top of the pyramid, if you will, I believe the most effective prospecting, not the most efficient, most effective, is knocking on the door. Why? Because you can get direct, immediate feedback and having a face-to-face. That's exactly right. Eye to eye, belly to belly, nose to nose. You get direct feedback. You can go knock on the door of an expired listing, as an example, have a direct conversation with the prospect and get real-time feedback. And here's the other thing. The reason why door knocking is so effective is people don't have the courage to treat you the way they treat you over the phone. People got a whole bunch of courage when it's over a phone call or over social media. They could be super tough, but when you're face to face, for the most part, people are pretty pleasant. Would you agree?
Yeah, they're just humans, and most people are very kind.
Yeah,
face to face is very disarming.
Very disarming, because most people just don't like to deal in conflict. And so when you're at their door and you're coming from a place of contribution to look to serve them, to help them, you're not looking to pressure, or you're not going to looking to do anything. You're trying to see how you can help this person. They're a lot less likely to be nasty than they are over the phone.
Yeah. And there's an energy when you're face to face. There's a humanness about the whole thing.
That's right. So that's
versus hiding behind a text.
Exactly right. So that's number one. I would say then number two is phone calls, right? Outbound sales phone calls. I think this is like the happy medium. It's effective and it's super efficient, right? They can jump on a dialer like Vulcan 7 and bang out hundreds and hundreds of phone calls that if you were knocking doors, it would take you a long time, and you're probably pretty cold too. Like in Cincinnati, or if you're in Michigan right now, knocking doors during December, you're going to freeze your rear end off.
Yeah, maybe townhouses in California, you can do it, but really you're better off with a dialing system. Exactly. You're better off to get through as many, you got a hot lead, it's a different story, but.
Yeah, exactly right. Number 3 on my list then is text messaging. So we've got door knocking, we've got phone calls. Number 3 is texting. There's no surprise that, there's a lot of people that respond very well to texting. If you can't get a hold of somebody, shoot them a text message, shoot them a video message, right? This is very, very effective. And I think you guys are you guys working on some stuff at Vulcan 7 with some SMS stuff, or is that down the road?
Yeah, and the problem that's a long story, Brandon, and
all the compliance.
If we had compliance, and if we had 42 people all texting expireds every morning in a market, what are the odds your text is going to win? So if we set that up, you're better off to open a tab and text yourself directly and not be competing with 42 other people.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with SMS and texting as we move forward. But number 4 on my list is messaging through social media platforms. This is an activity that you absolutely can control. You can absolutely track and measure how many messages are you sending out today to FSBOs, expireds, absentee owners on Facebook. How many are you sending out? How many people are answering, right? You can track that conversion ratio and then duplicate it day in and day out. Would you agree?
It's the duplication. It's the consistency.
That's right.
And you add that to it. Why would you leave that category out? A lot of people are online, and that's a great place to communicate with them. And they're sitting there, and it's a numbers game, and it's easy.
Yeah. And again, everything we've talked about so far is all free. Like, you're not having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on these huge billboards and commercials and radio. We're not talking about any of that stuff.
Right.
We're talking about effort. We're talking about skill.
And you get to keep the money.
You get to keep the money. And remember, I want to bring everybody back. All of these activities when it comes to effective prospecting, that's what we're talking about today. They all fall under the activity of being proactive. That's the first thing. 2, you can track the result, right? And then 3, you can measure how effective is this. And then number 4, can you duplicate that time and time and time again? That's what we're talking about. And then number 5 on my list is I have emailing, right? Probably the least effective of the 5, but you can control how many emails you send out every day. You can track the open rates. You can track the response rates. It's free to do. And so that would be, those would be the 5.
Yeah, you don't want to leave that category out. You got to cover that base.
Exactly. So those would be the 5, I think, focus areas, Ren, that most agents should focus on when it comes to doing direct outbound prospecting. Are there any ones that you think that we missed that should be on that list?
I think that covers all, the primary ways humans communicate with other human beings in sales.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. So let's move on to kind of the next point then, right? So like when it comes to being a great prospector, I think once you can, again, accept the fact of what we're doing here, take responsibility and do daily actions that we're talking about, then we got to talk about the mindset. This is massive when it comes to being an effective prospector. Detaching from the outcome 100% is the mindset you must have. You have to detach from, okay, am I going to get an appointment today? Am I going to get a listing today? Am I going to get a contract today? And you have to focus 100% on the activity. How long am I going to commit to prospecting today? How many people do I want to talk to today? Those are activity-based. Those are not outcome-based. That's the mindset I think, Ren, people should have when they start prospecting versus, so attached to, what do I sound like on the call? Oh, I didn't get an appointment. This is terrible. I suck at this. What are your thoughts when it comes to that mindset?
Well, there has to be a pre-prospecting routine.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, where they're working on their mindset, then they're in some sort of role playing, and then they go and going over everything that they want to do. And in fact, like, let's say you start at 8:00 or whatever, and as you get close to 8:00, maybe a little alarm goes off and says, 10-minute warning, getting ready to go. I mean, the whole routine, because the pressure in your head of all the negative chatter, like, I'll wait till tomorrow, I got to work on this folder, it will overwhelm you. If you've got a pre-prospecting routine that basically, and a dedicated area for doing this, if you're doing it at your desk where your pendings are, they will pull you away. They will pull you away every time. If you have a dedicated area, you have a pre-prospecting routine, you have you work your posture, body language affects mindset, which is good to have a mirror, because notice what people do when there's a mirror. If you're trying on clothes at a department store, you pull your shoulders back and you put a smile on your face, and that affects your mental state. You look at a mirror and you smile, and then all of a sudden you're like, I feel better. And 100%. And that affects your head and gets you going. And then having some sort of an affirmations partner, or somebody that you meet every morning that you do some affirmations and get your mind in the game and make some sort of a commitment to that other person before you start.
I love it. And you nailed it. I mean, the pre-prospecting routine or ritual is absolutely critical whether or not you're going to succeed in a big way. Are you waking up at the same time? Are you working out? You working on your mindset, your affirmations, your role play, your skills?
And as Brandon says, did you take a cold shower?
Did you take a cold shower? Right? All of these things set you up to have better conversations. And the thing that you said, yeah, I love it too. But the big thing is like standing up, right? Let's talk about environment for a second. So this is the next point. So we talked about this mindset and having the pre-prospecting routine. Let's talk about environment, prospecting station, and the fact that when you're making phone calls, stand up, right? Everybody knows this, but motion creates emotion. Yeah. Move around, move your hands.
You're not like this. No, shoulders back, smile on face. Shoulders back, smile on face.
That's right. It's about body language.
And then you'll notice you feel better.
That's right. Because here's the other thing. When it comes to communication, it's all about how you say what you say a lot more than what you say. And that's the thing. And so how you deliver a message has everything to do with your own body language. So stand up, And then you can enunciate and use tonality and mirror matching the prospect so much better.
And it's a transference of energy, and they can feel like they can feel the smile on your face. They can feel your energy. If you're like this, they can feel that. If you're like this, they can feel that. People are real perceptive on tone.
Big time. It's like, I hear so many phone calls, Ren, and they're like, "Hi, would you like to meet with me today?" It's like, no, they don't want to meet with you. You don't sound exciting to meet with. Why would they want to meet with you? So stand up. That's number one. Number two is, your prospecting station, like where you are doing this, has to be a place that promotes absolute focus, absolute discipline. You said it. You cannot have your pendings over here and social media open here, and you got all these distractions, because at that very moment you become the distraction, right? That thing has got to be distraction free. Ren, would you agree with that?
I agree with you entirely. The environment is everything. You look at in any business, the environment, the routines around that environment. Look at a Starbucks. There are these little nuances and routines, and there's an environment that basically just goes, you have to do that with your prospecting area. You have to walk in and ask them, when you walk into that prospecting area, it's got to look like this. It's got to look like this, or something that makes you feel good. When you walk in, is it some old tired desk? Or does it say, I love lead generation, I'm going to set 3 appointments today? Does it feel good to walk in there? Are there creature comforts? Is it exciting? Or is it like pathetic and moronic and pitiful?
That's so true.
You have control. You can create an environment that you love and feel good, because if you go in there and it feels good, you'll stay longer.
That's great. It's great feedback. I agree. Like having, you mentioned it, but like having your vision board in sight the whole time you're making calls, like is your prospecting station conducive for productivity that motivates you to do the hard work or not? And that's what we're talking about. I always say the same thing you said. Like, I like to have classical music on. I like to have a candle burning. This is like my happy place. And if your prospecting station is not your happy place, you're simply going to avoid it at all costs.
A little teeny fridge with little goodies in it, so you don't have to go somewhere else. We used to get a little 3-foot wide trampoline. Just take your shoes off and bounce a few times to get back on the phone. The whole environment's got to be. If you have a room and a window with a great view, put yourself there.
That's
Don't
right.
punish yourself and stare at a wall.
Yeah,
you can take this control.
The other thing is,
because that is what makes your money. That's the gas in the engine. That is the Ferrari. That is,
That's right. I mean, the other thing that we're having good success with too, that I highly recommend people at least consider, is getting the desk treadmill. Like getting your steps in.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so massive. Like,
absolutely. But get a quiet treadmill.
A quiet treadmill.
Get one that's designed for that, because some of them they hear this.
Boom, boom, boom. Yes, it's all loud.
You don't want a whiny treadmill.
This is how you keep your energy going. You keep your energy going, all of that.
And then have a place where you're tracking every time you have a conversation, tracking where performance is measured, performance is gained. You've got to measure it. If you're not measuring, go play golf and not keep score. How interesting is that?
Literally, that's the next. That was my next bullet point.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's great. It's a great segue. I mean, that is exactly right. Like, the next thing to being an effective prospector is being fanatical about tracking your numbers, because results take time, but there's a story inside the data. And Ren, you nailed it. Like, what gets measured gets improved. And what you bring attention to. You want to save money? Track every penny you spend. You want to lose weight? Track everything you put in your mouth. You want to be a better prospector? Track it all down. You'll start to say, wow, my contact to appointment set ratio is dropping. This is exciting. You can start getting excited around the numbers, but you have to track your numbers.
And then when you find you figure the formula. Every time I talk to 37 people, I get paid an average of $11,000 or whatever it is, whatever the math turns out to be, because your numbers are your numbers. Once you build up an experience rate on that, then you can really get excited. Well, I'm just going to stay here and make 12 more calls, because I know that on average, And then, I mean, that way you can control your income. Well, last year I made 375,000, and people that prospect do. And I'm going for 525. Well, you can calculate exactly what you need to do, how long you need to do it to get, and you can actually target that number.
That's right. It's amazing. And yeah, you're exactly right. When somebody can align how much income they're making for every conversation, prospecting takes a whole new form of excitement that, every time somebody hangs up that phone, you made $57. Like, you start to look at this entire differently.
You do. Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, there was a TV show decades ago, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That's a one-time thing. But with this, you can be a millionaire every year.
That's right.
And maybe you have to suffer along and make only 400,000 the first couple of years. But it's a powerful thing.
Going back to the environment for just a second, there's one piece of advice, Ryan, I want to share with the audience. And this is advice I give to my coaching clients all the time, is that wherever you do prospect, whatever environment you choose, you have to make sure that you're not surrounded with non-prospectors, because human beings we're social creatures, and you want to be accepted. If you're surrounded with people in your brokerage that are non-prospectors, you don't want to feel judged. You don't want to feel left out. And when somebody leaves the herd doesn't like it. And so it's just not conducive for being productive, because all these people are like, what are you doing? Why are you making all those phone calls? And they're going to talk you out of it.
Right. In fact, do the exact opposite. Have accountability, a daily accountability partner. I always had 5 different ones. Now I have friends who are making $1 million and a half a year. They have 2 and 3 accountability partners a day that they're reporting into. Because think about it. You're supposed to go to the gym. You're just going to meet somebody there at 6:30 in the morning. If on the day that they're standing there going, Ren, where are you? Where are you? Hey, you'll show up. But if there's no accountability partner, you might tell yourself a little story and skip the day. So surround yourself with accountability partners in this prospecting routine, this lead generation scenario, in this environment. They're part of the environment. These are people that get excited because they're doing what you're doing.
That's right. And so we show up for people more so than we show up for ourselves in many times, in many cases. And
isn't that funny how that is? We won't go to the gym for ourselves, but we won't be embarrassed and not show up for somebody else.
Well, because we don't want to go against our own self-integrity. If I tell you I'm going to be there and I'm not there, I can't deal with that, but I can lie to myself all day long and be just fine with it,
which we all do.
Which we all do. I'm going to eat healthy this week. Yeah. Bullshit, you are, So the next thing on my list, and really the thing I want to end with today is when we just talked about a lot of things, but when you are in the act of communicating with prospects, we have to focus on the appointment. We can't forget, this is why we're reaching out to people. All of the conversation, all of the questions all has to be designed to lead to an appointment. We're not making contacts just to make contacts. We're not attached to the listing because we need to go do the meeting first. The appointment has to be the focus. Would you agree with that, Ren?
Yeah, and I see that from my experience, the biggest weakness in that seems to be in your personal database. When you call your personal database, a lot of times you get this in your head that this is just a long-term check-in call.
Right.
You can ask certain questions that will lead you to them giving you a name right now.
Yep.
Because I've watched agents that are really good at getting names from their database, but their mental approach is, I'm going to call I'm going to call 35 people in my database, and I'm going to get 2 leads and an appointment.
Right.
And you can do it.
Absolutely. I see too many people focused. So here's some tactical advice. I see too many agents making the phone calls, not getting the results, and then blaming the phone calls are the problem. That's not the problem. It's because they're either focused on, just going through the motions and making the contact. That's not enough. Or they're trying to list the house over the phone. and they're not focused on the appointment. And so I say, listen,
bad mistake, but they lure you into it. They go, well, what would you do differently?
Right.
And as we said last week, you pretend they said, hey, can you come over? That's what you're pretending they said. You just say, hey, great. How does your schedule look for tomorrow at 4 with 6 p.m.? Or you have a better line than I do for that, a script for that than I do. But that leads into the appointment.
That's exactly, but you're right. Yeah. The answer to that is that will be one of the first things we discuss. So what works better, today or tomorrow? Right. I mean, that's the script. And it's, we call it not taking the bait. Right. And prospects try to lure you in. Oh, what do you charge for a commission? What are you going to do differently? How are you going to market my house? What would you list it at? These are all baiting questions that we want to respond with, leading us to the appointment.
Right. Right. To say these are fine points. I haven't seen your house yet, and every house is unique, blah, blah, blah.
That's right.
You probably have a better script. The one on commissions, I love this. One lady had one, and I can almost remember her name. It was the best one I ever heard for commissions. Well, what do you charge? She said, well, that depends on the condition of your home, the price we set on your home, and how competitive you want to be with the cooperating agents in the marketplace. And we'll cover all three when we get together Thursday. And I thought, that is the best answer in the world.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So this is great. And so this was a lot of fun today. Next week, just for the viewers that are watching, Ren, I'm going to have Davis from your team on the show, and we're going to be talking about some technical uses of Vulcan 7 and how to use the platform to get more listings. So we're really excited about next week's episode, but
wonderful.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So you hanging around for the holidays, or are you going out of town at all?
I'm going to be around this year, which is rare. So it'll be fun. So I'll watch that one.
Awesome. Well, you guys, hopefully you got a lot of value from today's show. If there's any questions that you have for Ren and I, you can put them in the comments section beneath this video. If you guys are interested in getting started with Vulcan 7 right away, you can do that by clicking the link in the description. And then we'll plan on seeing you guys on next week's show. Any closing?
And if you're not involved with Brandon, you're missing best practices. This is the recipe. This is the way to get there. The easy way. Keep it safe, keep it easy, put the money in your pocket, build a fabulous business, have an exciting life. You want to have an exciting life? Get involved.
I love it. Well, Ren, thank you so much. Like always, we'll see you soon. Have an awesome week. All right.
All right. You too, Brandon.
Thanks for watching, you guys. We'll talk to you soon.